The screeching sound of tires echoed, drawing the attention of everyone in the McDonald and Appo's parking lot. A convoy of sleek black SUVs glided in, stopping with precision as if everything had been meticulously planned. The doors opened, and Donald Trump stepped out, followed by a group of security personnel. His gaze was sharp yet carried a touch of gentleness as he looked toward the restaurant and Appo's entrance. Inside, the bustling atmosphere suddenly fell silent. The chatter, the ordering voices, all of it faded as every eye in the room turned to the prominent figure entering. Grace, busy balancing a tray of burgers, looked up and froze in place. The spatula still in her hand, she stared, unable to believe her eyes. "Is Grace Mitchell here?" Trump's deep, commanding voice cut through the silence. The murmurs among the customers began, but no one dared to speak out. Grace felt the weight of every gaze fixated on her, her feet seemingly glued to the floor. And this was only the beginning of a series of events that would change Grace and Appo's life forever. If you too believe that small acts of kindness can create miracles, stay tuned to uncover the surprises ahead. The story has only just begun, but what's to come next will leave you glued to the screen. The story begins. Grace Mitchell was a college student working part-time at the McDonald and Appo's branch on Elmwood Avenue. She never sought attention, preferring her actions to speak for themselves. Grace was kind-hearted and intelligent. On a quiet Wednesday afternoon a few weeks ago, Barron Trump walked into the restaurant. Grace recognized him instantly. He seemed composed but slightly uneasy, as if he didn't quite belong in that space. Grace was standing behind the counter, quickly assembling an order, but her gaze kept drifting to the young man standing at the register. Barron, tall and composed, placed his order but fumbled for cash when he reached into his pocket. His movements were hurried, and his face shifted from confident to flustered as he realized his wallet wasn't there. Grace noticed his change in expression, his growing anxiety. His wallet was gone. Without hesitation, Grace swiped her own bank card through the register and paid for Barron's meal, quietly and without making a scene. She smiled with genuine warmth, placing the tray of food in his hands and softly whispered, "Don't worry about it." Barron looked at her with gratitude, surprise, and appreciation. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but instead, he simply nodded, his lips mouthing a quiet thank you, though no words came out. Grace didn't push him to explain or embarrass him. To her, it was just the right thing to do. She returned to her work as if nothing had happened, leaving Barron standing there with a tray in his hands and an inexplicable feeling in his heart. What Grace didn't know was that in the weeks that followed, she would experience a miracle she had never dared to dream of. Barron Trump, the youngest son of Donald Trump, was the person she had helped. That day, he had slipped away from his security detail for a moment of freedom, but the incident had left a lasting impression on him, one he couldn't forget. In the weeks that followed, Grace continued her work at McDonald and Appo's, unaware of the ripple effect her small act of kindness had caused in the grand halls of Mar-a-Lago. When Barron returned home, he sat in an armchair in the Grand Library of Mar-a-Lago, flipping through the pages of a book, but his mind was elsewhere. He sat across from his father, President Donald Trump, who was focused on a series of papers spread out across the large wooden desk. "Dad," Barron spoke, breaking the silence in the room. Trump looked up, his sharp eyes softening as he met his son's gaze. "What's on your mind, son?" Barron put the book down, hesitating before speaking. "I can't stop thinking about the girl at McDonald's. She helped me without any reason at all." Trump raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. "What did she do?" Barron recounted the entire story, from the moment he realized he didn't have his wallet to how Grace had quietly paid for his meal. When he finished, his voice grew quieter, his eyes reflective. Trump leaned back in his chair, tapping his fingers lightly on the armrest. "She's a remarkable person," Barron said. Donald Trump listened attentively. Though the world often saw him as larger than life, moments like these reminded him of the values he held dear. "What's her name?" Trump asked. "Grace," Barron replied. "She works at the McDonald's on Elmwood Avenue." In Trump's mind, ideas began to form. He was not one to let good deeds go unnoticed, especially when it came to his family. "We're going to visit her," he declared. His team quickly coordinated to arrange the visit, making sure it would be a surprise. Trump instructed them to keep everything discreet. "Make it look like my visit, but don't notify the press. This is about her, not me." In the following days, Trump's team worked tirelessly, reaching out to Grace's university and arranging a surprise gift. Barron was involved in every detail, from selecting the paper for the letter to designing the envelope. As the plan took shape, he couldn't hide his excitement. Both father and son knew that sometimes a small act could lead to a significant change. And this time, they wanted to make it happen themselves. 3 days after the plan was set, a convoy of black SUVs pulled into the McDonald and Apos' parking lot. Grace, busy with the lunch rush, moved deftly, flipping burgers on the grill. The clatter of orders, the hum of the coffee machine, and the laughter of customers filled the air, creating a lively atmosphere. She was so focused that she didn't notice the change in the room until the atmosphere suddenly quieted. An eerie silence spread across the restaurant. Grace looked up and froze. Walking through the door was none other than Donald Trump, accompanied by his security detail. The murmurs of customers ceased, and everyone tried to comprehend what was happening. Grace stood motionless, the spatula still in her hand. She stared, unable to believe her eyes. Whispers rose among the patrons, mixed with curiosity and astonishment. "Is Grace Mitchell here?" Trump's voice rang out in the room. His presence captured every eye, yet his tone was warm and inviting. Grace felt as though her feet were cemented to the floor. A colleague gently nudged her shoulder and whispered, "Grace, they're calling for you." Hesitantly, Grace stepped forward, flour still dusting her apron. "It's me," she said, her voice calm despite the storm of emotions rising within her. Trump extended his hand with a genuine smile on his face. "Grace, I've heard so much about you from my son, Barron. You did something truly incredible that day, and we're here to thank you." Barron stepped forward, a shy smile on his face. "I've never forgotten what you did for me," he said. "Thank you." Grace's cheeks flushed, and she stammered, "It was nothing, really, just helping a little." "It wasn't nothing," Trump said firmly. He turned to one of his aides, who handed Grace a slender envelope. Inside was a scholarship to cover the remainder of her college expenses, along with a heartfelt note from Barron. "We want to make sure you have every opportunity to achieve your dreams," Trump added. The room erupted in applause. Overwhelmed, Grace felt tears welling up in her eyes. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. Trump smiled gently. "Just keep being the wonderful person you've always been. That's all you need to do." As the convoy pulled away from the parking lot, Grace stood by the door, clutching the envelope tightly in her hands. Customers continued to murmur, congratulating her. Inside, Grace knew that this wasn't just a reward. It was a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness could send ripples far beyond what she had ever imagined. She stood frozen, watching as the SUVs disappeared from view, her heart still soaring as if she were dreaming. The congratulations and handshakes from coworkers and customers began to fade. But in her mind, the image of the Trump father and son, along with their sincere gratitude, echoed in her thoughts. Grace carefully tucked the envelope into her jacket pocket, gazing out the window at the sky. A strange feeling crept into her heart. More than just happiness, but a sense that her life was about to change in ways she hadn't yet imagined. Meanwhile, inside one of the SUVs cruising through the streets, Barron turned to his father. "What do you think she'll do next?" Trump smiled, his eyes flashing with the sharpness he was known for. "We've planted the seed, Barron. Now it's time to see how it grows. But this isn't over. I have a feeling that girl is going to do something big." Barron nodded, but his curiosity was evident. "What if we continue to help her? I don't want this to be just a fleeting moment." Trump placed a hand on his son's shoulder, his smile laden with knowing intent. "Don't worry, this is just the beginning." At McDonald's, As the crowd began to disperse, Grace sat down at a corner table, her eyes fixed on the envelope. Inside, along with the thank you note, was a brief message from Trump. "We are always watching you. Don't stop striving." She tightened her grip on the paper, her heart filled with determination. Something in those words sparked a new light within her, a reminder that her journey was just beginning, and this was only the first step. But what she didn't know was that far away, larger events were slowly unfolding. Events that would not only change her life, but also create a story that the world would soon be watching. Don't miss the next part of the story, where secrets begin to unfold. There are still many surprises, emotional moments, and dramatic twists ahead. What will Grace do when faced with great opportunities and unexpected challenges? And Barron, will he be able to hold on to the values that Grace has instilled in him while facing the pressure of family and society? Stay tuned for the next chapter to discover what happens next in their story. This story serves as a testament to the power of kindness and small yet meaningful actions. Have you ever helped someone without expecting anything in return? What did that feel like? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice may inspire many and bring about positive change in the community. If you found this story moving, don't hesitate to share it with friends and family so we can all spread the message of kindness and new opportunities. Thank you for supporting the channel. Please like, share, and subscribe to receive the latest updates. The stories are collected from various sources and do not represent any individual or organization. They are shared with the intention of spreading human values in life and have been rewritten with the support of AI. If there are any mistakes, kindly overlook them with understanding. Wishing you all the best in life.